Okay, so those of you that just joined, missed my initial introduction. My name is Robin Thornton. I'm a partner with Holborn Assets. Um, what I'd like to do today is hand over to the main presenter, which is a gentleman in the name of Edward Harris, who's obviously on the call. Ed's a senior partner, lives in Portugal, ex-US resident, so he's very versed in these matters. Today's agenda, we're going to go on to who we are, a little bit of detail, a little bit of background, and we've got one specific property launch, and then a little bit about the future of golden visas, and obviously some Q&A at the end of there as well. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Ed, and Ed, over to you.
Thanks, Robin, for this introduction. So without further ado, let me just move on to the first slide, which is just the quick background in terms of who Holborn Assets are, and also just quickly who Archway Private Wealth are, because conscious that some people may have come across us under that name as well. So Holborn is a global wealth management firm, been going over 20 years, offices all around the world, head offices in Dubai, but big offices in, I think, 5 offices now in South Africa, a number of offices in Asia, several offices in Europe, and office in the US as well. We look after about $2 billion of client money and won numerous awards. So Holborn Pass is the part of our business that deals in investments, but investments with what we call global mobility benefits. So rights to a passport or citizenship or residency built into them. Last year, we worked on 18 different schemes, passport schemes throughout the world, and residency schemes, 9 of which we helped clients take up. By far and away, the biggest of those were the Portuguese Golden Visas. We did 143 last year. The total numbers for Portuguese Golden Visas last year was about 1,300. So we did just over 10% of all the Portuguese Golden Visas. So we're a major player in this Portuguese market. As I mentioned, we do also have a US subsidiary called Archway Private Wealth. We're SEC regulated and US investment advisor. I run that business. Robin and Adrian, who are both on this call, both work for me in that business. It's a niche business. It works on dealing with UK pension assets. It's not directly involved in residency, citizenship by investment, but I mention it purely because people looking online might come across this name as well as the Holborn name. So just wanted to explain the relationship. So these are sort of highlights of some of the schemes that we have worked on with clients. Just wanted to highlight a couple of things. I'm certainly not going to go through this line by line, but on the left, you have the citizenship programs. Citizenship is where you're making typically a donation, and within a relatively short period of time, typically within a year, you get a passport. This market is dominated by the small Caribbean countries. So this is where people typically are not going to go and live in Dominica or Grenada, but they just want a passport that is better for them for traveling. So if they happen to have a passport of a country where it's difficult to get into Europe or get into the US, then they're typically looking to try and acquire another passport in this manner. For the US clients, typically what we're looking at are the residency programs on the right-hand side. Of these, UK, Portugal, Greece, Spain tend to be the most popular ones. So here you're getting the right to go and live in a country, and if you meet certain criteria, you will eventually get rights for citizenship, i.e. a passport that comes with that. The unique thing about Portugal, and one of the reasons why it's so popular, as well as being a wonderful place, is this line here, the physical stay time for citizenship. So you'll note that in Spain, you have to live there for 6 months a year, Greece, 6 months a year. Portugal, you only have to spend 5 weeks in total in a 5-year period in order to still qualify to get a Portuguese passport. So for those who want to come and live here, great, no problem. But if you're not quite ready to do that yet, maybe going to do it in a year's time, 2 years' time, or just have it, ready there, should you need it at some stage in the future, then Portugal is sort of the standout scheme from that point of view. In terms of what Holborn does, everything is the short answer to that. So we're there from the very beginning, helping to help complete the paperwork and initial stages, all the way through the various different stages. That's coordinating with the government, with property developers, with lawyers, with accountants, all the way through the various different stages, through to the point where hopefully you get a passport at the end of it. Other reasons why Portugal is so popular, and one of the reasons why I moved here: incredibly welcoming country, incredibly friendly. I'm fortunate, I spent 10 years living and working in Asia. I've lived and worked in the US and 3 different times in my life. My wife's from California. Traveled over 40 different countries. Portugal is hands down one of the most genuinely friendly places I've ever been. We've made more friends here in a very short space of time. We moved here last year than we have in most of the other countries we've spent time in. Also one of the most peaceful countries in the world. Number 1 and 2 on the list, if you're interested, are Iceland and New Zealand, neither of which have a Golden Visa program. So very peaceful. That's not just crime, that's also sort of other things, history of conflict. But I have 3 young daughters, and it was certainly one of the key things that led me to decide this was a place where I wanted my girls to grow up. Wins numerous awards for best retirement destination. That's due in no small part to some of the things on this list. I don't want to spend too much time today going through the non-habitual resident tax status. It is a fantastic program. It's separate from the Golden Visa, but it is something that you can apply for when you move here if you haven't lived in Portugal in the previous years. And basically means that you don't pay, in most cases, Portuguese tax on any non-Portuguese income. So if you have dividends, rental income from a property outside of Portugal, self-employment income, you won't pay tax in Portugal. Has a great public healthcare system. Obviously, a sort of big consideration for a lot of people living in the US is the cost of the healthcare there. In Portugal, healthcare is free. There is a private system that runs alongside. I do have private healthcare cover here. It costs me about $1/4 of what I used to pay in the US. And instead of a $20,000 deductible, it's I think I pay like $10 a time or something. It's insignificant, really. Has a tremendous education system too. Of course, the sort of state system here, the public system is in Portuguese, but most large cities have what they call Portuguese as a second language. So they'll have assistance for people who don't speak Portuguese yet. I have a lot of people here, friends who've put their kids into the Portuguese schools. It's very difficult for the kids for the first few months, but very quickly they pick it up. My youngest is 4. She's gone into the Portuguese side of things and is already speaking Portuguese quite well. There are private schools here as well, and the private school fees generally are significantly cheaper than the private schools in the US. So the scheme's been around over 10 years. So this is a well-established scheme now, over 10,000 applications, 6 billion raised, and open to any non-EU citizens, because if you're an EU citizen, you don't need this, because within the EU, if you have one passport of an EU country, you can live in any of the other countries in the EU. You can include your spouse, dependent children, and dependent parents. So to get the passport, so you make a qualifying investment, that gets you your Golden Visa. To get the passport after 5 years, you have to have made that investment. You have to have stayed for 5 weeks. That's not 1 week a year. You have to spend at least 2 weeks in the first 2 years and at least 3 weeks in the second 3 years. So you can come frequently, you can just come twice. You have to pass A2 language level. A2 language level is Portuguese, is a beginner's language level. The pass mark is only 55%. It's not designed to catch anybody out, but just to show that you sort of made an effort to get a basic understanding of some sort of Portuguese. There are online courses, online testing centers, so you don't have to come to Portugal to do that either. Then after 5 years, you can request citizenship, and typically 6 to 12 months after that, you actually get your Portuguese passport. That enables you to travel anywhere that's green on that map on the top right-hand side without needing to get a visa, and it's one of the best passports in the world. And as I mentioned previously, it is an EU passport that also gives you the right to live, retire, work, study, start a business in any of the 27 EU countries shown in blue on the bottom. So it's quickly in terms of the timeline. So the first couple of months, it's about making the application. CEF, which is written on the scheme, is basically the immigration department in Portugal. So a lot of paperwork to fill in. So we're holding your hands and helping you through that. Within, say, 6 to 8 months, but going to for 8 to 10 months, you get approved for your Golden Visa, have a 100% approval rate, and you'll get a little residency card. It looks a bit like a US driving license, which is valid for 2 years and gives you the right to live in Portugal. After year 2, you have to renew that for another 2 years. Year 4, you renew it for another 2 years, but 1 year into that is the point at which you can apply for either permanent residency or citizenship. And then sometime 6 to 12 months afterwards, you get your passport. Portuguese Golden Visa, increasingly popular for Americans. On the left-hand side, it's the number of visas issued to Americans each month, and you can see that sort of climbing from 3, 4, 5 a month to 20 at the end of last year and 17 beginning of this year. Therefore, the share of Portuguese Golden Visas going to Americans is now about 1 in 5 of all the Golden Visas that go to people in the US. So how do you get your Golden Visa? Well, you have to make the qualifying investment. There are 5 different types of investments you can make. Donation to arts, things only ever been done once. So that is a straight donation of 250,000 euros. Frankly speaking, there are better options to do than that. Venture capital, private equity fund, used to be 350,000 to invest, now it's 500,000. I won't spend too much time talking about this because for people who pay US tax, these investments categorized as passive foreign investment company investments, so very tax punitive, so not something we typically talk to with people from the US. You could choose to put 1.5 million euros in a Portuguese bank account with negative interest rates and inflation. Again, not something that we'll be doing with our clients. You can set up a company, but you've got to employ 10 plus employees. You have to pay minimum wages, the social security contributions. So that's actually quite a significant investment that you have to make, and obviously carries risk with it as well. So no surprise that about 85 to 90% of people go with the real estate option. But this is where there has been a big change in January this year. So the major headline is that residential property in Lisbon, Porto, most of the Algarve, and most of the coast generally, including the Silver Coast, which is the very popular area just to the north of Lisbon, no longer qualifies for a Golden Visa. So it doesn't matter if you buy a 10 million mansion in Lisbon. If it's a residential property, you don't get a Golden Visa with it. So that's quite a significant change. You can still buy a residential property if you buy in the interior, the rural interior, or in the islands, that's the Azores or Madeira. But that's not something that we recommend to clients unless they particularly want to go and live there or do that as an investment. There is no domestic Portuguese market for property in those areas. So as ultimately a wealth management, investment management firm, we're always looking at the quality of the investment first. And for us, that means therefore commercial property is where we focus with our clients, because commercial property still qualifies for a Golden Visa anywhere in Portugal. So we can do the commercial property in Lisbon, in Porto, in the Algarve, so in the high demand areas. And we think that's a better investment for clients. And the closest you can get for commercial, you could do shops and warehouses and other different things, but the closest we can get to residential is to do hotels, apartment hotels. So that's the focus of what we've been doing with clients since January when the rules changed. So at this point, I'm going to click over and actually show a clip of Pablo, who runs the Citizenship Investment Program at division at Holborn, talking through a little bit of background to the types of properties and how we structure the property deals, and then he's going to talk through the actual introduction to the new property launch, and then we'll come back for a Q&A afterwards. So if I can just exit out of my full screen and bring this up.
I've met with over 20 developers in Portugal, and if you've done your research for Portuguese Golden Visa and you've seen what the market is like, it's actually quite tough to find, good real estate investments for just the innate characteristics of this property category. First of all, it's a 30-year-old building or more, right? So it's typically in dire need of refurbishment. And normally you need a couple of years to refurbish this up to standard, and the construction period can take, therefore, a couple of years. A lot of the properties out there are co-ownership. So, you would own, 0.2, 0.3% of a building as opposed to an actual apartment. And as I said, a lot of these properties are in low density areas, which we won't touch because, what's the exit strategy? Is there going to be a depreciation on that property? Is it going to be rented out? So because that project has to be refurbished, so our clients miss out on the first 2 years of rental typically. And if you've looked at other projects on the market at the 280 level, normally there is no rental. And then at the 350 level, the average rental becomes 3% from year 3 onwards. Finally, on top of the real estate purchase price, for a family of 4, you're looking at about 60,000 euros in fees. You got 7% tax when you buy a property in Portugal, around 20,000 euros to apply for the Golden Visa, and I'd say 10 to 20,000 euros in legal fees. So there's about 60,000 euro cost on top of the market price. So it's actually very tough to make money and get the Golden Visa, right? The main objective really is to get the citizenship. So then we, in a lot of these projects, you have to think, okay, what's the exit strategy? If it's co-ownership, who's going to buy that, percentage of the building from you? If there's a buyback, who's guaranteeing that? What happens if there isn't a buyback, et cetera, et cetera. And then finally, most projects in this category, they either don't allow you to stay, or maybe they allow you to stay for about 1 week per year. Okay, so essentially, the property that we're launching today, the value proposition is miles ahead of anything really in this bracket between 280 and 350. Because we're actually qualifying under the new build category, but the price point is in between the 280 and 350. Okay, so the project that we're launching today is a ready built property. It's already on booking.com, so there's no developer risk. It's tourists are staying there as we speak. Our clients own or will own the full apartment outright, so they're in control whatever happens. It's in a prime location in the Algarve. And what's truly unique about this product is that our clients are going to get 4% rental return for 6 years. So 24% rental paid upfront as and when they're buying the property. Okay. And this rental will ensure that our clients are making money. If it's a single applicant, family of 2, family of 3, even family of 4, our clients are actually making money with the Golden Visa, because the rental return is covering all the costs associated with it. So this is truly unique, and it's only available with our property. And finally, there's an exit strategy in year 6 where our clients can sell the property back to the actual owner today, so the seller, and at the original price, which is 400,000 euros. So they can get that back in year 6 as a minimum, or they can sell it on the open market. Finally, our clients can also stay for 1 month per year for free as part of this package, even though it's rented out to tourists. And the starting price for this property is 328,000 euros for, I think, about 15 units. So our clients only have to put down this amount, because the rest is the rental return paid by the developer. So without further ado, let me introduce you to our exclusive property, the Pelican apartment hotel in the Algarve. This is a real picture of what it looks like today. It's a 4-star apartment hotel, and we're launching exclusively the top 2 floors, so the 3rd floor and the 4th floor. And our property partner has given us exclusivity for these 2 floors. And the bottom 2 floors are for the Chinese partner, so they can only be marketed in China. We have the international distribution rights for the top 2 floors. Okay, and you can see it has a swimming pool, there's a restaurant, and there's 20 apartments for sale. There's the 15 1-beds and 5 2-bedrooms. Okay, you can see it's literally like a 10-minute walk from the beach, 1.5 kilometers from the beach. It's located in Algarve, which is next to Portimao, essentially. And the building was built in 2009, but it was fully redecorated last year. So as you can see, it looks, pretty much brand new. This is the front of the main entrance of the building. These are all real pictures, by the way. None of this are renderings. You can even see, that the leaves have fallen off the trees because the picture was taken about a month ago. And this is the main entrance. There's a very impressive lobby, and there's underground parking for all tourists and owners. So these are the interiors. Again, these are real pictures as they are today. So this would be the 1-bedroom bedroom, the living room. So we got sofa bed, dining table, kitchen, and these are just other angles of the living area. Again, more pictures of the living room, and then the high quality finishing in the bathrooms. So if our clients can spend 1 month per year here, I think a lot of them will actually do it. If not, you can give those weeks to friends, or spend as little or as much as you want those 4 weeks. And really is perfect for families, for couples. So not a bad place to spend the summer. These are pictures of the common areas. So we've got the restaurant, the bar, and the lobby. Okay, I was actually here a few months ago, and it is really even better in person. Other pictures of the recreation area. And so the property is located in Algarve, okay, which is between Portimao and Lagos, which are pretty much the 2 biggest cities or 2 in the Algarve. It's about a 45-minute drive from the airport, and it's about an hour away from Spain, and like an hour and a half or an hour and 45 minutes from Lisbon. So this is a picture of Algarve. You can see there the historic city centre. The Pelican apartment hotel is about 10-minute walk to here, and 10-minute walk to the main 2 beaches. It's a perfect area, for fishing or just to spend the day on a boat, because it's on the Algarve estuary, which leads to the Atlantic Ocean. There in the background, you kind of see Portimao as well, which is like a 10-minute drive. There's 3 golf courses less than 2 kilometers away, and then there's the you've got the skydive in the Algarve, which is literally a few minutes away from the resort. And also it's also famous for having the Grand Prix racing track, the only one in Portugal. So this property qualifies under the €400,000 minimum entry level for, say, a new build property in the Algarve. We have 15 1-bedrooms that have 67 square meters, which price is €400,000, and 5 2-bedrooms. 3 of which have ginormous balconies, and 2 of which still more of a normal size, but still very good price per square meter, and they're priced between 450 to 460,000 euros. As I said earlier, our clients will have the full title deed and will own their units outright. You guys, or anyone can go on booking.com and check the property out. It's rated 8.3 out of 10. On booking.com. So finally, as I said earlier, there's a restaurant, there's a bar, there's a swimming pool, and underground parking. Okay, and these are all real images of the resort. So what's really interesting and unique about this property is that because the seller, the developer, is going to pay the rental return of 3.5% for the 2 bedrooms and 4% for most of the 1 bedrooms, and they're going to pay that for 6 years up front. So in the case of the 1 bedroom at 400,000 euros, our clients only have to contribute 328,000 euros of their money, okay? Because the rest, the other 72,000 euros, is the rental after tax, which the developer contributes, with the client to reach that 400,000 euro minimum level, okay? For the 2-bed, you need about, 379,000 euros of your capital to afford the 2-bed. The other condition, or the other contract that's signed at the start, is the optional buyback, whereby the clients sign at the start, and in year 4, they get to choose if they want to enforce the buyback in year 6 at the original purchase price of, let's say, 400,000, or they can say, no, thank you, I want to keep the property, I want to live in it, I want to rent it, I want to sell it and make the upside. So our clients get to decide that in year 4. If a client didn't want the buyback, they don't have to sign it, but it's a good hedge to have, because in year 6, at least you're going to get your money back in a quick manner once you've got your citizenship. Finally, our clients can use it for up to 4 weeks per year. 3 weeks of that can be between, say, mid-September to mid-May. And then 1 week can be either, say, June or September. And if our clients wanted to stay in July and August, they'd have to pay 50% of the going rate, because it's a very seasonal resort and location. So a lot of the money is made in July, August, and June. Okay, so in terms of the units that are available, as I mentioned, the first 2 floors are for the Chinese partners of the developer, and we managed to secure 20 apartments because the developer had already given a few, the ones that you see marked in an X. They've already been sold and to other commitments that they have. So we now have the exclusivity, as I said, internationally for the building. And essentially the ones in blue are the ones that are available. So there's 2 bedrooms on the 2nd floor, which are the 97 square meters. And there's 3, 7, so 9 1-bedrooms facing the pool. Okay, and then another 3 1-bedrooms that face the hills. Okay, and then on the 3rd floor, there are these 3 apartments that are 2 bedrooms. And this one here, which all have huge balconies with a jacuzzi, and these are going for 460, and actually capital required, I believe, is something like 390 for these 2 bedrooms. I imagine these will go quite fast. And then there's the other 4 1-bedrooms on the top floor that face the swimming pool, and all of them have got a sea view. Right in the distance, you can see about 1.5 kilometers away the sea. So I think we've already got from the 20 apartments, there's 2 that already kind of been reserved. So I imagine if you've been talking to some of the wealth managers over the last few months, you would have seen that these exclusive properties, as they are miles ahead of the competition, they do tend to go very fast. I don't think this will last more than a month, to be honest. Our previous property that had similar characteristics, we launched in December. It was 60 apartments. It was meant to last till March, and then we pretty much sold out mid-February. So it's pretty much 18 left in these 2 floors. Okay. So that's the Pelican Algarve for you, and hope you you like the presentation. If you've done much research, you'll see that it really is the best value proposition in the market. A final note, maybe a lot of our clients ask, what happens when we apply, if they change the Golden Visa, or if they close the Golden Visa, what happens to my investment, right? And it's a valid concern, because we are at the mercy of governments just changing their mind and just either closing a program or increasing the price of a program, or changing certain characteristics. And as long as you have applied to the government before the law passes, you're safe, you're within the program as it stands today. So governments can only legislate going forward, they can't legislate retroactively, okay? So, but you know, we've seen this happen many times. Just this year, for example, the UK closed the UK investor visa program. This was 17th of February. Okay, Cyprus closed theirs about a year and a half ago, and maybe they gave like 2 weeks notice. We had a couple of investors who were caught out with the US EB5 program. This was, I think, 3 weeks ago, when they decided to increase from $500,000 to $800,000 their program. And in Europe, I don't know if you've seen this on the news recently, but if you look at, there's a lot of articles out there, you know, on the 10th of March or 4th of March, the European Parliament is debating how to legislate the golden passports, and pretty much they want to get rid of the golden passports. And for golden visas, they're thinking of how to legislate that. And most likely next year, there will be some sort of legislation that will change the golden visas. We still don't know what it's going to be. It could be that they tax certain countries, so it will make it a bit more expensive to the investor. It could be they ban them completely. Or it could be that they change certain aspects, like, for example, the physical stay requirement for Portugal, which is what makes it so unique, right? That you can do it remotely. So, you know, if this program is the right thing for, you know, for your family, you know, don't procrastinate, get it done before it changes, because the Portuguese Golden Visa program really is, as it stands today, a really fantastic program. So. Okay, Shane, over to you.
Okay, so I'll just leave Pablo there and head back to our presentation for some Q&A. Just before
thanks for that,
Robin, I'll just pick up on one thing, just in terms of the location of the Pelican and Algarve. On the map Pablo showed, it's just sort of west of central Algarve, in between Portimao and Lagos. It is a tremendous location. Portimao is the second biggest city in the Algarve. Lovely place. Anything that you might want to find, you can find there. There's a huge sort of outdoor shopping malls, a lot of outlet stores there, so you can get anything and everything. Lagos is very popular at the moment, particularly with Americans as well. It's very trendy, sort of surfer type town, lots of, you know, nice sort of markets and things to go to. So you're only sort of, say, 5 minutes from Portimao, probably 10 minutes to Lagos. You're also pretty close to the biggest international school in the Algarve, Nobel School, which is a place called Lagoa, which is, again, probably 10 minutes from Algarve. So it is a great location.
Thanks for that, Ed. Yeah. Also, just to add to that, I was there personally as well. So Portimao, you've got the Ferragudo village, the culinary centre across there, so that's not far away as well. We've got a couple of, well, we've got more than a couple, we've got about half a dozen questions that have come in through different media channels as well. So if I can quickly run through some of those. First of all, in terms of living in Portugal, what happens if somebody only speaks English and they're not very good at their second languages?
Okay, it's not illegal living in one of the sort of main centres, so in Porto, Lisbon, in the Algarve. It's not going to be a problem. I mean, they kind of joke in the Algarve that even the dogs speak English. I think the stats are something like 60% of Portuguese speak a second language, and the vast majority of that second language is English. Certainly, you know, all the doctors speak English, the dentists speak English, and are very good and significantly cheaper than they were in the US. I've never, I mean, other than hello and goodbye and a few other words, I don't speak any Portuguese yet. We've been here 8 months, but you know, it's of no trouble, no difficulty getting around, making yourself understood in the Algarve. And the Portuguese people are incredibly friendly. And when we do try and order, you know, toast de mista or, you know, a little drink or something in Portuguese, they're very sort of friendly and appreciative of you trying. So it's not a big deal. I think if you went into some of the rural interiors, Perhaps some of the older people you speak to might not speak English, but
Yeah, sure.
in the big cities and certainly with younger people, English is very widely spoken.
Yeah, okay. I've got another question coming in here from Jason, who's in New York. Can you get a mortgage to pay for these investments?
Okay, so you can get a mortgage. What I would say is that you still have to make the level of investment with your own cash that meets the qualifying investment level. So as an example, we do a project. There are many projects that we do, not just Pelican Algarve. One of the projects is with Hyatt Regency in Lisbon. So, fantastic location on the waterfront, downtown Lisbon, overlooking the sort of famous bridge and the Statue of the Christ. Those properties they start at 820,000 euros and they go up to, I think, 2.5 million euros. As a qualifying investment, as a new build property in Lisbon, the client has to put €500,000 of their own money in. But the additional amount they could get a mortgage on, absolutely. So as long as they're putting in the amount that they need to put in to qualify, then you could get a mortgage for the rest of the balance. What I would also say is that because now people are buying these sort of commercial units as a sort of means to an end, it's, in order to get a golden visa, you have to buy one of these commercial properties. But this isn't a place that clients are typically going to want to kind of live in themselves if they're moving to Portugal. When you come to buy that property, as I've done, then you can get a mortgage quite easily here. So, although I have no credit history is a big thing in the US, credit rating and credit score. In Portugal, when I applied for my mortgage here, they just asked me to send them my US credit report. And they gave me a mortgage here on the basis of the fact that I had good credit history in another country. I mean, it's not the sort of thing I can imagine happening when I moved to the US. They didn't say, hey, send me your credit report from another country. They wanted my US credit report. Here, they were quite happy to accept my US credit report. And I got a mortgage, fixed rate, 20 years, 65% loan to value, very competitive rates. Negative interest rates in Portugal at the moment. So I think my mortgage is 1.3%. So yeah, you certainly get a mortgage on a property here. So that means you have to take part of your capital and invest in one of these properties to get a golden visa. Then when you come to buy an actual house you want to live in, you can get a mortgage quite easily on that part.
Yeah, okay, great, thank you for that. You've kind of answered my next question a little bit as well already, but one of our viewers is asking, is the Pelican the only property opportunity, or are there others?
There are others. I'm going to go through any detail today, although I do have a couple of slides, like my next slides after this. This is a very brief overview. So on the top right, so for example, this is the Hyatt Regency project that I just sort of briefly mentioned there. This is the waterfront in Lisbon, the sort of famous bridge that was built by the same company as built the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, which is why it probably looks familiar to some people. The one at the bottom right here, this is Pine Cliffs, also sort of high-end investment property. This is on the Algarve. The bottom left is a sort of the lowest cash entry point project that we have. So this is in Lagos. This is a project with Hilton Hotels. So that's a 280,000 euro investment. And then one of my personal favorites is this one on the top left. This is about 45 minutes north of Lisbon. This is the Obidos Hotel Residences. This hotel is already open. Beautiful golf course. This is home to the Portuguese Open when it's played and it's part of the golf tour. And these residences you can just kind of see here in front of the hotel are what the clients are buying to get their golden visas. So yes, we have our one in the middle actually just sold out. So yeah, we have a number of different projects available. Some are about trying to find the right price point for clients. So if people are focused on very much just want to invest the least amount of cash possible, then the one bottom left, Hilton Lagos, is probably most suitable. I think the best from an investment point of view, which some people are more interested in, is probably the Obidos project in the top left. If you want something that you might want to stay in for 6 months a year, and you have a sort of higher price point you can do, then the Pine Cliffs, this one on the bottom right, you can stay in for 6 months a year. So again, it's just a case of, different properties suit different people, and yes, we have multiple products available. And of course, as I mentioned at the beginning, we don't just do Portugal Golden Visa, we do lots of different residency schemes for clients, again, who have different situations and different circumstances.
Okay, great, thank you. I think that's it. You've pretty much covered the next 2 or 3 questions as well. So that's it on the questions front. Really, sorry, we've just got one coming in from Joet. Another one just saying, actually just asking about the mortgage. He said he's struggling to hear with the feedback. We did just cover that, and we will contact you with the recording of the webinar, and perhaps contact you personally, Josh. But yes, you can get mortgages, but you do have to hit the minimum criteria in terms of the cash element. That's what Ed was trying to explain. So, for example, in the 500,000 category, if you're buying $1 million property, you would have to put down 500,000, but you could then mortgage the balance. But perhaps we can connect with you and explain that in a bit more detail. So there is some flexibility in the different types of schemes and how they work. So apologies for the sound quality on that one. Ed, anything from yourself? Do you want to wrap up or anything?
No, that was right in terms of the situation on the mortgages. So I think for today, that's it. And obviously, we can follow up with people individually. So obviously a much better way of doing and understanding about everyone's individual circumstances and situation, and see how we can help them achieve their goals.
Excellent. Great. Thank you very much, Ed. Thanks to all. Thanks for joining. Have a good day.
Thank you.